or tuning in the sun. This is TFM, get ready to rock. From AM to PM, come on, let's talk.
TFM 95.4.
Let's talk.
Hello and welcome to Outline. Here are the headlines for today. Tourist cruise boat owners in Oman asked to update their documentation. 25% jump in electronic fraud. Book a hotel before buying a ticket if you're traveling to Oman. Those are the headlines for today. We also have our special segment on our show today, Fighting COVID. But first, the weather.
Hi, my name is Maytha Shukeli for today's weather update. And right now, I'm outside the TFM studio in Al Khuair. Before we move on to weather, here is our fact for the day. It only takes 8 minutes for the sun's light to reach the surface of the earth. That is our fact for the day. Now let's step inside the studio and talk more about weather. An alert has been issued by Oman Meteorology and Civil Aviation Authorities saying that there will be poor visibility during fog formation, and there will be mainly clear skies over the rest of the Sultanate with chances of late night to early morning low-level clouds over the parts of North Al-Sharqiyya, South Al-Sharqiyya, Al-Buraymi, Dhahira, Al-Wusta and Dhafar. And now let's take a look at how the weather will be like in all the governorates. Muscat will be sunny, temperatures between 27 to 19 degrees Celsius. Musandam will be sunny, temperatures between 25 to 15 degrees Celsius. North Al-Batina will be sunny, temperatures between 27 to 18 degrees Celsius. South Al-Batina will be sunny, temperatures between 28 to 18 degrees Celsius. Al-Buraymi will be sunny, temperatures between 30 to 18 degrees Celsius. Al-Dakhiliya will be sunny, temperatures between 29 to 16 degrees Celsius. Al-Dhahira will be sunny, temperatures between 29 to 17 degrees Celsius. North Al-Sharqiyya will be partly cloudy, temperatures between 29 to 16 degrees Celsius. South Al-Sharqiyya will be partly cloudy, temperatures between 25 to 18 degrees Celsius. Al-Wusta will be partly cloudy, temperatures between 28 to 17 degrees Celsius. And Dhafar will be sunny, temperatures between 29 to 15 degrees Celsius.
Welcome back to the Outline. Let's take a look at the local stories for the day. The Ministry of Transport, Communication and Information Technology has urged owners of tourist and cruise boats that currently have temporary registration to visit the ministry's ship registration departments to complete the permanent registration procedures. The MTCIT also said that the necessary legal measures will be taken in the event that the required registration procedures are not completed. There has been a 25% increase in cases of electronic fraud reported by the Royal Oman Police in 2020. A number of these fraudulent cases occur through unsuspecting victims being duped by social media sites or through ads featuring fake companies that promise high financial returns in a short time, said Lieutenant Colonel Jamal Al-Qureshi, Director General of Inquiries and Criminal Investigations. Those under the age of 18 are most vulnerable to financial blackmail, he said. Many have fallen victims to posts or ads promoting fake trading practices because they feature celebrities. To protect them and many others, there must be increased awareness of cybercrime. Cases of fraud and extortion through websites and social media platforms have become amongst the most prominent types of crime in the modern era due to the diversification and development of the internal and social networking sites, explained Al-Qureshi. Although many of these sites have positive effects, they also have a negative impact on society. Many are obsessed with spending time on social media, and this is what blackmailers take advantage of. There are a number of ways in which cybercriminals can gain access to a person's financial records. These include stealing banking information, hacking, extortion, electronic fraud, luring clients with a number of fake incentives, or through threats and coercion. Fraud through cybercrimes have increased by 25% between 2019 and 2020. And we see that a lot of people do not submit reports of being defrauded, particularly when they have been forced to part with their money or sensitive information through extortion, explained the Lieutenant Colonel. The ROP's Economic Crimes Department has dealt with a number of crimes perpetrated through social media platforms, WhatsApp, Instagram, Snapchat, as well as many investment platforms that trade in fake shares, he said. We come across many phantom companies that promise high financial gains in a short period of time. Many hotels in Oman are insisting passengers traveling to their home country to pay the entire amount towards their mandatory 7-day institutional quarantine before booking their flight tickets, so that they follow the preventive measures enacted to stop the spread of COVID-19. Booking payments are taken in advance, said a representative of a hotel in the country. Otherwise, people might show the authorities at the airport their booking confirmation but go elsewhere and avoid the quarantine regulations. Another hotel operator added, "We have allocated separate floors for passengers under quarantine. We insist that they book their rooms in advance and pay the full amount before boarding their flights. For example, if our room rate is 22 Omani riyals per night, a passenger needs to pay for a 7-day booking. Only once this confirmation has been received, he will be allowed to buy tickets." Starting today, that is Monday, February 15th, passengers will no longer be allowed to buy flight tickets unless their hotel bookings have been first made. The rule was put into effect after the Supreme Committee to deal with COVID-19 issued a decision requiring all passengers entering the country to spend a mandatory 7-day institutional quarantine followed by a PCR test on the 8th day. The committee was compelled to take this action after many people were not adhering to the precautions set up to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in Oman. Passengers who come to Muscat are not just those who live in the country, but also people who travel to other destinations, in this case primarily Saudi Arabia, said Fayaz Khan, the general manager of Travel Point, one of the many travel companies that have organized hotel quarantine packages for incoming passengers. In Oman, arrivals have to quarantine for a week, but it is 2 weeks for those coming to Saudi Arabia, even if they're transiting through Oman. So they first need to quarantine here and then fly onwards, he added. There are close to 1,000 passengers coming to the country every day, but there might not be enough hotels for all of them. So we have recommended they first confirm their hotel reservation and then book tickets. A number of travel agents in Oman have set up quarantine deals, which include transportation to the hotel from the airport, the removal of the tracking ban that needs to be worn by people in quarantine, and a PCR test on the 8th day after the arrival in the country. Those are the local stories. Now let's take a look at the COVID-19 updates. The Ministry of Health has announced the registration of 1 new COVID-19 death, taking the total death toll to 1,543. The ministry has extended its deepest condolences to the families of the deceased. The Ministry of Health has also announced the registration of 286 new COVID-19 cases, taking the total cases in the Sultanate to 137,592. In the past 24 hours, there have been 237 recoveries, and the total number of recoveries now stand at 129,291. The ministry has urged everyone to adhere to social distancing instructions issued by the Supreme Committee and the Ministry of Health. Those are the COVID-19 updates. Now, like I mentioned before, let's go to the other studio where Madiha Asif is going to talk about fighting COVID.
Thank you, Antara, for the updates and welcome to Fighting COVID. Last week, we spoke about the new variant and how the Ministry of Health and the Supreme Committee is stressing on to continue to take precautions such as maintaining social distance, hand hygiene, and wearing face masks. In fact, the authorities in the country have taken stricter measures to curb the spread of the virus and potentially the new variant. Last week in Oman, it was announced that the land borders will remain closed until further notice, while providing a 10-day window for the citizens to return home. Beaches and parks across the Sultanate have been closed as well for 2 weeks. The committee decided to downsize the number of visitors to government departments, private establishments, including commercial centers, restaurants, and cafes by 50%. The decision to reduce visitors also include cafes serving shisha and indoor sports halls. It has also been decided to keep all commercial activities in North Asharkia Governorate closed from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. with effect from the evening of Friday, 12 February 2021 for a period of 14 days, with the exception, of course, of fuel filling stations, health establishments, and private pharmacies. Moreover, the Supreme Committee in the Sultanate has also decided to impose compulsory institutional health isolation for all arrivals to the Sultanate through various land, ports, and airports on their own expense, due to the lack of commitment by many to home health isolation and violations of the procedures that have been approved. The Supreme Committee, in fact, has urged all citizens and residents to avoid traveling outside the country unless absolutely necessary. In fact, the Ministry of Health in Oman has begun inoculating people with the second dose of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine starting from yesterday. Those targeted are the elderly and those with chronic diseases who have already received the first dose of the vaccine. If you all remember that the second dose of the vaccine arrived into the Sultanate on Saturday, which contains 17,550 doses. It is reported that the total number of those who received the first dose of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine was 24,773, with a coverage rate among the target groups of 98%, while the number of those who received the second dose of the same vaccine reached 12,272 people, with a coverage rate of the target groups of 46%. Now let's ponder upon the question that you all might be having at this point of time. How to stay safe with a fast-spreading new coronavirus variant on the loose. But before that, let's take a quick commercial break.
Oman's largest online supermarket now has no minimum order limit. From grocery to household items, Rafiq has everything that you want. Enjoy worry-free shopping with over 8,000 products to choose from and get it delivered straight to your doorstep. Rafiq, you order, we deliver.
Welcome back to TTV. You're watching Fighting COVID. Now, while researching, I stumbled upon an extremely interesting article published by Clarkson University's professors who study fluid dynamics and aerosols, and they go by the name Professor Suresh and Professor Byron. They investigate how airborne particles carrying viruses spread. There is still a lot that scientists and doctors don't know about the coronavirus and its mutations, but there are some clear strategies people can use to protect themselves. Now, what can you do to stay safe? According to the two professors I mentioned earlier, they stated 3 pointers. Number 1, pay attention to the type of face mask you use and how it fits. Most of the shelf face coverings are not 100% effective at preventing droplet emission. With the new variant spreading more easily and likely infectious at lower concentrations, it is important to select coverings with materials that are more effective at stopping droplet spread. When available, N95 and surgical masks consistently perform the best. Otherwise, face coverings that use multiple layers of material are preferable. Ideally, the material should be a tight weave. High thread count cotton sheets are an example. Proper fit is also crucial, as gaps around the nose and mouth can decrease the effectiveness by 50%. Number 2, follow social distancing guidelines. While the current social distancing, according to the two professors, are not perfect, 6 feet isn't always enough. They do offer a useful starting point, however. Because aerosol concentration levels and infectivity are highest in the space immediately surrounding anyone with the virus, increasing physical distancing can help reduce risk. Remember that people are infectious before they start showing symptoms, and many never show symptoms, so don't count on seeing signs of illness. Now, last point, according to the two professors, think carefully about the environment when entering an enclosed area, especially the ventilation and how people interact. Limiting the size of gatherings helps reduce the potential for exposure. Controlling indoor environments in other ways can also be a highly effective strategy for reducing risk. This includes increasing ventilation rates to bring in fresh air and filtering existing air to dilute aerosol concentrations. The professors noted that on a personal level, it is helpful to pay attention to the types of interactions that are taking place. For example, many individuals shouting can create a higher risk than one individual speaking. In all cases, it's important to minimize the amount of time spent indoors with others. The Center for Disease and Control has warned that B.1.1.7 could become the dominant SARS-CoV-2 variant in the US by March. Other fast-spreading variants have also been found in Brazil and South Africa. Now, what we do not know is that scientists are working to learn more about these variants, and more studies are needed to understand A. How widely these new variants have spread, B. How the disease caused by these new variants differs from the disease caused by other variants that are currently circulating, and lastly, C. How these variants may affect existing therapies, vaccines, and tests. Now, what it means is that public health officials are studying these variants quickly to learn more to control their spread. They want to understand whether the variants 1. Spread more easily from person to person, 2. Cause milder or more severe disease in people, 3. Are detected by currently available viral tests, 4. Respond to medicines currently being used to treat people for coronavirus, 5. Change the effectiveness of COVID-19 vaccines. On the other hand, preliminary reports from South Africa show people who have recovered from coronavirus have been infected with a new, more contagious variant of the virus. This was according to the World Health Organization, which they briefed in the recently held press conference. The good news, however, is that the vaccines developed to guard against the virus appear to reduce the severity of illness in those who do develop coronavirus, even if it doesn't completely protect them from infection, said the WHO's chief scientist. According to the WHO, vaccination may also decrease the spread of new COVID variants. Prior COVID infection produces antibodies and cell-mediated immunity that are thought to prevent reinfection, scientists have found. Vaccination also helps build protection against the virus. This was all from Fighting COVID Studio for you today. Make sure to adhere and stick to the precautionary measures that has been issued for your safety and for the safety of others around you by the Supreme Committee and the Ministry of Health in the Sultanate of Oman. Back to you, Antara.
Thank you. That was very informative. That was Madiha Asif telling us how the virus strain spreads and how we can stay safe. This was Outline. We'll be back next week, so stay tuned.
You've just heard the live feed from the TTV studios on TFM 95.4. Let's talk.